Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
In the summer of 2003, Tony Blair was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. He was the first British Prime Minister since Winston Churchill to be so honoured.
You know, my middle son was studying 18th century history in the American War of Independence, and he said to me the other day, "You know Lord North, Dad, he was the British Prime Minister who lost us America. So just think, however many mistakes you'll make, you'll never make one that bad." Members of Congress, I feel a most urgent sense of mission about today's world. September the 11th was not an isolated event, but a tragic prologue. Iraq another act, and many further struggles will be set upon this stage before it's over. There never has been a time when the power of America was so necessary or so misunderstood.
Blair had succeeded in his prime aim of getting as close as he could to the American president. New Labour and the neocons had united in fighting the war on terror.
Good afternoon. It is once again a pleasure to welcome the Prime Minister, Tony Blair, and Cherie Blair to the White House. Mr. Prime Minister, fabulous speech. Congratulations.
Although Bush would be fulsome in his praise of his best buddy and staunch ally Tony Blair, the two leaders' specially close relationship provided rich material for the media and the satirists in Britain.
I love that word, relationship. Covers all manner of sins, doesn't it?
The media-savvy, real Prime Minister wasn't slow to latch on to.
You know, I know there's a bit of us that would like me to do a Hugh Grant and Love Actually and tell America where to get off. But the difference between a good film and real life is that in real life there's the next day, the next year, the next lifetime to contemplate the ruinous consequences of easy applause. You know, I never doubted after September the 11th that our place was alongside America. And I don't doubt it now.
Back up! Back up!
As the security situation in Iraq rapidly worsened in the months after the invasion, the big question was whether Blair was having any real influence at all on the Americans in reconstructing the country.
Under Donald Rumsfeld, they may have heard the advice, but they made their own decisions. Even if the Prime Minister had persuaded the President, it didn't seem to get through into decisions on the ground via the Pentagon.
Donald Rumsfeld and other top Pentagon officials had proclaimed proudly to their British opposite numbers, "We don't do peace and we don't do nation building." General Sir Mike Jackson, the head of the British Army, which famously does do nation building and post-war reconstruction, visited Basra. He saw for himself the problems Blair faced in seeking to influence US policy in post-war Iraq.
The difficulty in a coalition like that is that, of course, Britain was very much the junior partner. It's a difficult position to be in, because you may want to do something differently, but if you're...
Wanted a new police force up and running within months. But he felt that we would go through a dark period, we would have some difficulty.
In Downing Street, 5 months after the invasion, questions for Blair were mounting.
Good morning, everyone.
When I interviewed you last year, you accepted that one of the elements in the special relationship was that Britain sometimes had to pay the blood price. I just wonder, a year on, with the war in Iraq, the loss of life of British troops, the loss of trust in you, the loss of 2 cabinet ministers, the fractured relationship with your own party, and what's seen on the ground as a desperate mess in Iraq, what you feel now about the price that you have had to pay for your unflinching support of President George Bush?
Firstly, it's not the price I paid. I mean, the price has been paid by British and American soldiers, by Iraqis. But you should also understand this. The reason that I supported the action in Iraq was not because I thought we simply had to support America. It's because I thought it was right. I still think it's right. I think the link between terrorism and rogue states with weapons of mass destruction is the crucial security threat of the 21st century. And I believe that. I'm not infallible in the judgments that I make. Of course I'm not. And there'll be other people who strongly disagree with that, but that's what I believe.
You've been called a liar and a warmonger and all that sort of thing. What's your feeling, your attitude when that happens? And also too, when you read of casualties and people blame you for those casualties, I mean, that's a terrible, awful thing to live with, and I wondered how you coped with it.
Well, it is, but it's even more difficult for the people out on the front line doing the job.
Of course.
And that's what you have to remember. But
you sent them there?
Yeah, and that decision has to be taken and has to be lived with. And in the end, there is a judgment that, well, I think if you have faith about these things, then you realise that judgment is made by other people. And also by...
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
I mean, by other people, if you believe in God, it's made by God as well. And that judgment in the end has to be, you do your... When you're faced with a decision like that, and some of those decisions have been very, very difficult, as I say, most of all because there are people's lives, not just, this isn't a matter of a policy here or a thing there, but their lives, and in some case, their death. The only way you can take a decision like that is to try to do the right thing according to your conscience.
Now that the Prime Minister has used up all mortal excuses for his folly in invading Iraq and is relying on divine guidance, will he tell us which archangel is now beckoning him towards southern Afghanistan?
Right. So what's the answer?
Well, I don't think Tony Blair...
Tony Blair had come to power proclaiming that his could be the first generation where not a single British soldier was sent to war. But he ordered our troops into battle 5 times in his first 6 years as Prime Minister. And our servicemen are still fighting and dying in Afghanistan and Iraq. And it's Iraq that's been the most damaging to his reputation. But Tony Blair remains completely unrepentant. The fiercer the attacks on